Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Well, that was great for about 20 minutes. It was pretty good. And then it was very, very much not good. I am Fouad Suleiman. Welcome to Game Over Toronto, alongside the returning Armaan Fouad.
Missed about 3 weeks.
Welcome back from your trip. How was it?
It was great. On the flight, Ryan O'Reilly got traded to the Leafs. I literally left, and then when I returned, we have a completely different team. Like, on the flight, Ryan O'Reilly got traded, and I landed about like an hour before the game, and it was like 5 a.m. in India, and I had to watch it because, you know, Ryan O'Reilly's first games. And it's funny because I stayed up to watch a few Leafs games during my trip, and I only watched the good games, and all the ones I missed were complete shit. So,
hey,
I'm bringing the luck, but I guess
we
not
probably
today,
should have made you not watch this game tonight because it was quite shit, as you said. But yeah, we got a big show. You know what's not shit? This show, because we have an extremely special guest. We have professional wrestler and hockey podcaster, hockey superfan Eric Young is going to join us in just a second. But first, Armaan, I have to ask a burning question in my mind. Want to bet? Then get in on the action at Sports Interaction. The boys of summer are back on the diamond, and March Madness is on deck. Bet pregame, live, and play are one of our many prop bets. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN, or in Ontario, download the app now using the QR code at the bottom of the screen. 19 plus, and please play responsibly. Now, without further ado, to discuss what was a craptacular performance, my friends, give it up for Eric Young.
Woo! Here we are. I mean, I don't know about craptacular, but I mean, certainly, I mean, they're in the playoffs. They're going to, focus will slip.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's going to happen. And I mean, as a true hockey psycho, I want all the teams to be in the playoffs, and Buffalo, they're right on the border of that. And they're fun to watch, man. I mean, I want them to be in the playoffs.
Just in case anybody had any illusion that, the Atlantic Division was going to get any easier next season, some teams might fall out. No, that team is going to be very, very good. And that city deserves it because they haven't been in the playoffs since 2011.
2011, yeah.
2011.
And they're an exciting team. Like, they remind me of the 16-17 Leafs, like with just the young talent.
A little bit.
And just, like they are such a high octane offensive team. Like, it really impressed with them. And, to start the game, like we talk about craptacular performance, but to start the game, the Sabres only had 3 shots.
Yeah.
In the first period.
That
was a phenomenal first period.
Yeah.
And it just went to shit right after we went up 2-0. But yeah, it's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that what I had down was essentially, the Sabres are playing every second of the game for their playoff lives. The Leafs, as frustrating as fans may say it is, the Leafs already know what's going to happen in about a month and a half. They're going to be playing Tampa Bay, most likely at home. But I guess that's why, you're playing a young, hungry team that is just chomping at the bit, dying to get into the postseason. And the Leafs have we've been here 7 years in a row. People will only judge us by what we do in late April. So, let them have it. But it was, there was a lot of things to not like on the Leafs end. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's, we're going to go back to goaltending because it happens all the time. I was watching the Sportsnet feed. They were talking about it in between the second and third and saying, who does everyone pick? And they're like, well, right now I'd pick Samsonov, but, Murray's been there before and whatever. I mean, this is not a way to gain the players or the coaching staff or the fans' confidence with an outing like that. But I think you nailed it exactly. Is every night is a playoff game for the Buffalo Sabres. And the Maple Leafs have known their faith for almost a month, which is kind of wild. Part of the reason I think we saw all the huge moves and big moves in the trade deadline or the 2 weeks prior for the Eastern Conference. I was like, man, when does nobody in the Western Conference want to make their team better, or they're not interested in winning the Stanley Cup.
Arms race.
Yeah. And it was all on the Eastern side, which as a hockey fan, super exciting. As a Maple Leafs fan, it's the same. Remember when we were all convincing ourselves that the Boston Bruins were wild card entry at best?
They were washed.
All of us.
They're finished.
Literally, everyone.
No Marchand, no McAvoy, Bergeron's old, Krejci almost retired. Everything's fine. And now they're breaking records for the most wins in a regular season. Nobody can score an Allmark. They get Tyler Bertuzzi. Taylor Hall hasn't played in 2 weeks, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares, especially the Boston Bruins. So it's
it feels like Allmark is scoring more than Kerfoot is. That's his goalie goal.
I will take no part in the Kerfoot slander. I still think he's a good player.
I love Kerfoot. And also on that first goal, that kick, that was
great. That was a great play. That was objectively a great play. I mean, Leaf fans are going to have their opinions about him, and he obviously should not be on the first line. He's on the first line.
He's a useful player
because of injury.
He's a very useful player.
Yeah, very useful player. He can't he's having trouble putting the biscuit in the basket, but the dude is always in the right position. Like in terms of just the fundamentals, he has everything in him, and he plays with a heart as well. So I do think he's useful. It's been funny how many chances he just can't score on lately.
He's snake bit for sure.
Yep,
getting Scott Gomez vibes. I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember that.
Oh yeah. After that crazy contract,
yeah,
he gets one goal. Yeah, I remember that.
Scott Gomez. I haven't heard that name in years. That's a throwback of a name. But going back to goaltending, to me, I was starting to think that Samsonov, to me, I think should probably be game one starter, just going by performance and the length of the season. But I can't help but thinking that Sheldon Keefe is of the mind that because Murray has the pedigree, the resume, and they'll go with him game one rather than the player who's played better this season. What do you guys think is going to be his choice in that matter? I hope it's Samsonov, but I can see where their logic may be.
I think that it's going to be Samsonov. I think they came out to say that, they want to get Murray some games, and Samsonov is also not operating at 100%. I don't know if it's from the shot he took in warm-ups or if it's a sickness, but it makes sense. You want to, like we were talking about this, we know what the playoffs are going to be for us, most likely at least, unless Tampa goes through a very bad spell. So it's a matter of getting both goalies up to speed, because you might need to use both of them. So, Murray getting in games while Samsonov, gets some rest and comes back to 100% just makes sense at this time in the season. I think Samsonov has taken that number one spot, through his play this season. Yeah. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to go with the guy that's been there, right? I mean, the guy that's played for you. Matt Murray at the start of the year, I think was super shaky the first few games. And then he settled in, and I can remember reading stuff on The Athletic, and I can't think of his name. He writes, I think he's the editor of In Goal magazine. I was listening to him on a podcast, and he was talking about how Matt Murray has completely reinvented himself, and he's playing this different style, very similar to what Pekka Rinne did. A lot of people thought Pekka Rinne was burnt and was done. And then all of a sudden he shows up the season he won the Vezina and played differently, but was even more of an effective goalie at that point. And everyone was saying, including people that know, not me, goalies are madness. It's
none of us know goalies very well.
Who knows? But the reality is everyone, goalie pundits and goalie specialists, were all saying Matt Murray is going to make a lot of people eat their words. And I believe if he could stay healthy, that is a real possibility, because we've seen him when he's at 100% health, he's been good. I think, like you guys think, I don't think he's 100% healthy. I think his confidence is rattled. And I think the biggest thing is he's not used to being number two, because Samsonov is their number one there. And Samsonov being your number one goalie is worrisome. I mean, you took him off the scrap heap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was such a good contract, like getting him in the bargain bin pretty much. Yeah, I agree. I think Murray can definitely bounce back. We know he has the ability. He's already won 2 cups. I mean, so it's a matter of getting healthy and then getting into a rhythm for him, I think. Like I know there's been some discourse lately, especially recently, with, offloading his contract in the offseason or something like that. I don't think that's the right move personally. I wouldn't pay assets to get rid of him, if that's what people are
I don't think you
talking
need
about.
to. I think $3 million at 1 year. If you had to do that, and that's thinking way down the line, I think somebody would take him. I think somebody.
I think he's still positive value. Like I know $4 million is a little high for him, but
yeah.
I also, I was a little mad when we traded for him because I thought we could have got more value out of Ottawa. But honestly, I think it's worked out somewhat decently aside from the injuries. It's sort of as expected, and we kind of got assets to acquire him. So, I'm not actually that mad about the trade anymore, which is, saying something because I was pretty damn mad when it happened.
Yeah. Are you guys worried about the defense at all in this game? Because in this game, I found the first period was a defensive masterclass. I almost forgot Murray was in net because I didn't see him do anything in the first period. But then, obviously we saw a lot of lapses, especially net front, like in front of the net. I thought that Vince Dunn goal, I thought Morgan Rielly kind of just got walked there. Like
Vince Dunn.
He didn't even sorry.
Vince Dunn? He doesn't play on the Sabres.
There's someone named Dunn. Am I wrong? Who scored the first goal for the Sabres?
Quinn.
Quinn. Yeah.
Why did I think C Dunn? I'm sorry. It's Dunn. I'm like, he doesn't play for the Sabres. Oh my gosh.
He's playing right now. He's playing for Seattle.
He's playing for Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah,
so on
Jack
the first
Quinn.
goal, I found that Morgan Rielly kind of got walked. I felt that a couple of the goals, there was just no resistance in front of the net. So I couldn't really blame Matt Murray for a lot of those goals. Like, what do you guys think about that? I think there's a bit of concern there. I think there's a bit of healthy concern I have.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, for me, they have the depth. I thought in a lot of spots, Gustafsson looked really good tonight. I mean, he was running the power play in Washington. Was playing a ton of minutes for them. I know the Daily Faceoff had him listed playing left wing on the third line with Lafferty and Yarncroc, which is hilarious.
Because they had the thing. It's like the third line had like a missing person there, and I was just like,
because it's the 11 forward.
It's a 2-person third line.
They can't format it yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, the formatting of the 7D is they're waiting for Matthew Knies, right? That's to me, that's what's happening. I feel like you got to kind of settle on your 6 that you want and let them play together, let them solidify, let them get used to, like, McCabe's brand new, Gustafsson's brand new, like, Sandin is gone, who's played with Lindgren most of the year, if not all of the year. So there's a lot of turnover. And I, like, as a person who played hockey poorly, very poorly, I continue to play very poorly. But when I played defense, when I played minor hockey, like, knowing the guy that you're playing with was super important because of rating situations. It's not like you can talk. You mean, like, you can, but like, you're busy holding your breath or trying not to die or, avoiding hits. There's not all this communication. So you just have to kind of know, I don't have to be watching what that other guy's doing. I know what he's doing because I'm used to it. So I think it's a lot of that right now defensively. I have no doubt that they'll sort it out. I believe still, Buffalo lost tonight, that this is the best Maple Leafs team on paper in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've been a fan my entire
years.
life, and I'm very old, so that's a long time.
I think more than 10 years. I mean, this is the best. So I started paying attention to this team when like around 2002, I think. And I think, honestly, it's debatable about that team too. I think that, like, they're on par talent-wise. And that's what I've been saying a lot of the times. Like, they have enough talent to do anything, to win the cup. They have enough talent. That's what the first round, the second round, any of the rounds is going to come down to. It's the guys that you're paying half the salary cap to. It's going to come down to the core 4, maybe the 5th guy with Ryan O'Reilly. But, those 4 to 5 guys have to be superstars every night. And if they do that, they'll beat Tampa Bay. I think if they were that, they would have already won a first round series in any number of the past seasons.
Yeah. And, I do agree on the defense. Like, we have a lot of new pieces, and Luke Shen didn't even play this game, but he's back with the team, so he'll probably get in next game. And so a lot of moving pieces and using a format that's 11 forward, 7D. So, pairings change shift to shift even. It's kind of tough to work with, especially with new guys. And, like, I'm not really worried. Like, Liljegren had a horrible game today.
He did.
It's Liljegren. We know he's good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
Sheldon
worried
Keefe
about
doesn't.
him.
I don't know if Sheldon Keefe does.
Yeah, like, I'm hoping he gets playoff time. But, like, like, he sort of just showed some inexperience. Like, on all of the Sabres goals, I think the Leafs played poorly defensively. I don't think there was a single Sabres goal where, the Leafs, that wasn't a great scoring chance. Leafs got caught puck watching quite a bit. But, you take it game by game. I think there were stretches where the Leafs played very well defensively, especially in the first period, and then the game just got away from them and they couldn't get it back. And that's a credit to the Sabres, in my opinion, because they played phenomenally.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
they did so well in that. Sorry, but they did so well in that Jack Eichel trade. If you really think about it, like, that was as acrimonious a situation as there'd been, like, between player and franchise. Alex Tuch. And then you got a first round pick out of it. You got something else I can't recall.
Peyton Krebs, if I recall correctly.
Right. Yeah. So they did really well there. So I mean, they have an exciting future for sure, as Eric was also alluding to there.
Yeah, for sure.
I love Alex Tuch, man. I do a show with Chris Meany. We both wrote and did a show called Four Stack Lines with The Athletic when he was playing in Vegas. And, like, it seemed like every show we're like, man, like, wow, how is this guy not playing more? Like, how is he not playing on the power play? How is he not in the top six? And it was just like we were beating our heads over, into the wall over and over, saying the same thing. And then he goes there and he's played on the top line. Him and Tage Thompson, I mean, two massive human beings playing together with that much skill. The forecheck is, I mean, I wouldn't want to turn my back to him. You know what I mean? Like, going to get a puck that's dumped in and stuff. He's an unbelievable player. My favorite style of player, modern player, kind of like a power forward throwback, Jerome McGinlow, Cam Neely, someone like that. Yeah. That's who he reminds me of, but even more skill. And I mean, that's the way the league's going. And we talked about Kerfoot, and, like, statistically, he's not burying goals and, not a ton of primary assists, but what makes him effective is that he can skate, and that allows him to play anywhere. The Maple Leafs don't want him to play on the top line. It's just the way it is right now. I think he's better suited. I would love to see Lafferty, Yarncroc, and Kerfoot as the third line. I think that's going to give teams. They're going to give him a nightmare. Kyle Yarncroc he played in Nashville for years. This is where I live. I live in Nashville. I've loved him forever. Chris Meany said this the other day. I wore my Kyle Yarncroc Toronto Maple Leafs jersey the other day on the show. And Chris said, I may be, other than his immediate family, the only person that owns him. And that's okay. That's okay. Dude's got 15 goals.
Trust me. I'm sure someone else in Leafland. I'm sure someone else in Leafland.
I think Curtis from Alberta does, for sure. Our guest Curtis from Alberta definitely has one. That's for
Kyle
sure.
Cushman has I think it's Kyle Cushman has a Dennis Mulligan Leafs jersey, and he played like. Man. Yeah,
that is just irony for irony.
Which is great. I mean, I love the Leafs fan base. We stand all these depth players. So yeah.
Speaking of depth, though, I mean, like, so we mentioned Matthew Knies before. Now, we've been seeing this a lot. We've been seeing this for over a year now. It's almost like he's this, like, mythical character that we're like, oh, Matthew Knies is coming, guys. Don't worry. And I've seen the highlights, and I've seen, what he brings to the table and what his profile is. But do we really like, even the chat, like, do fans think that he's going to come in and make a material difference in the playoffs? Because he's coming straight from, like, university. He's like, hey, thank you for finishing your exams. Now you're in the NHL playoffs. Right. So, I mean, I'm guessing he'd be on the third line, but still, what do you guys expect from him? Do you think fans are expecting too much?
I mean, it's tough to say. I think fans always expect too much, but at the same time, I think every prospect can make an impact immediately. And players coming from college hockey immediately into the playoffs isn't exactly unheard of. I think McAvoy did it. I think Kreider did it. I think Caulfield did it. Makar did it. Yeah. Like there's a lot of guys, obviously, who are probably higher draft pedigree than Matthew Knies is, but there are a lot of guys that have come from the NCAA into the playoffs and made an impact immediately. Matthew Knies, I think, is a guy whose skill set can drastically improve the Leafs. I'm not exactly sure if he's ready. I haven't exactly been watching a ton of NCAA hockey this year, but with the way people talk about him, like I'm really excited to see if he's on the roster come playoff time. Yeah. So
I think it's a guarantee that he's on the roster. And the producer just brought up, Makar. That's the most recent thing. And I know you guys watch what happened there.
Yeah.
I mean,
even with Caulfield,
he made a bunch of teams look like fools for passing him over. He is one of, if not the best defenseman in the league. Yeah. Like he came straight out of college and straight into the playoffs and was dominating games. And I'm not saying in any way that that's what's going to happen with Matthew Knies, but what I'm saying is it's possible. And I think that we saw the Maple Leafs, they invested in defensemen and they invested in bottom six guys. They didn't go after a left winger. They didn't make any real effort. And I think they're convinced that Matthew Knies is that guy. So I believe he's going to play in the top six. Playing in the power play is probably not a realistic thing for him, but I think he plays top six. And I think that's where he should play. That's the kind of player. Having someone like Matthew Knies or Jason Robertson play on the fourth line is a waste. That's not what they do. That's not the player they've been. They've never done that. And they have to learn how to do that. Like it takes, someone like Andrew Cogliano, like you can look up his stats from junior. He was breaking every record imaginable. And he was this prolific goal scorer. And it had to do with his skating, right? His skating was on such a level above everybody else in junior hockey that no one could catch him and no one could take the puck from him because of his unbelievable skating. Then he got to the NHL and everyone can skate like that. And now he's like an energy guy. He's still a great player, like a great player. But it took Cogliano years to learn to play like that because he had never played like that. So I believe that the Leafs are convinced, which makes me to be forced to be convinced because I'm a Maple Leafs fan, that he's going to play in the top six and he's going to contribute. I think betting on him being Cal McCarr or Caulfield or something like that would be foolish.
Yeah.
But it has happened in the past. And it's happening more and more. 10 years ago, it would take guys from college 3 or 4 years to develop to even make it onto a team. Now we're seeing them come right from the NCAA tournament to play right directly in the playoffs, right? It's happening more and more because that program is expanding and becoming even better.
I'm convinced. Yeah. That's it. He's gonna be a star. Let's go. I'm convinced. That's it. That's all I wanted. I wanted a little validation. All right. I'm
curious.
Go ahead, Armaan. Go ahead. Oh no.
Comes back before playoffs, and
he came back.
And Matthew Knies is on the roster. Who do you have out, Eric?
Oh geez. I think they maybe move Kerfoot down. I think that ideally they may be interested in moving Bunting down, right? Like I think part of it was punishment or whatever you want to call him, putting him on the fourth line. To me, I think he's going to play top six. I think, like it could even be with Matthews. Yeah. We're not going to know. That's just a guess. But by them not going after a scoring winger, or a guy that I think it didn't seem like they were even thinking about it. Like there was no rumors about it or anything like that. Like I think that they're convinced that he can play in the top six. And I think that he plays on that top line and Bunting can get moved down. Bunting's been a super effective player. And I like having a guy like him, with Matthews and Nylander or Matthews and Marner or whatever they decide to do there. So maybe he does play on the fourth line. I don't know, but I think that they want to put him in the top six. It could be, Tavares, Nylander, and Matthew Knies.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Who says no?
What a learning experience, right? What a way. Welcome to the NHL, Matthew.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So Eric, as the resident wrestling fanatic amongst us here. I have to ask. So you've been wrestling for about 2 decades, and you've been a part of quite a few factions. You've been part of Healing in WWE, part of Sanity. Now, I wanted to ask, I'm going to blend your two worlds here. Which NHL players would make the best pro wrestlers? If you were putting together the hockey world order, who are your top 5 NHLers to be wrestlers?
Someone like Ryan Reeves, who is a character and is obviously well-spoken and is a big dude and is intimidating and just a fun guy. Like, I think that he would embrace something like that. I'm pretty good buddies with him, talk to him quite often. He's retired now, but Paul Bissonnette is made for pro wrestling.
Yep.
I mean, like literally created in a lab. That's what I feel like. Players today, I mean, Reeves would be my first pick for sure. I think someone like William Nylander playing like a super cocky, flamboyant European male model.
He looks like Dolph Ziggler, so he got the Dolph Ziggler look to him.
He could be like Dolph Ziggler's understudy or something. That would be interesting. I love guys like Will Carrier in Vegas is just, I mean, like that's a modern tough player, and tough. I don't mean like drop the gloves and like playing against players like that. It's brutal, right? Like nobody wants to play against him, and he's having, a career year too. So that's why it might be top of my mind. Delorier, super tough dude, looks like a hockey player, missing teeth, like, put a red flannel and he's a Canadian lumberjack or something. There you go. He's like that. He's lumberjack.
I have one. I have one that I thought for sure would be the number one answer, but I'll definitely Brad Marchand. Like Brad Marchand would be the number one.
He's got the personality.
Bad guy.
For sure.
Yeah. If you want to make somebody get booed,
right? Like he gets entertainment, like on Twitter, chirping Leafs fan and chirping
Dangle.
Like,
our boss.
He gets it. And I wish there was 100 more players like him in the NHL. And there's not, and that's why it makes him so cool, But that's a great answer. Great answer.
Yeah. That was the first one I definitely thought of. So I know that right now you're kind of you're a bit of a free agent right now with wrestling. What is next for you in pro wrestling at the stage of your life?
Yeah, I don't know. There's some really, really cool stuff in the works that I can't really talk about.
All right.
If I could talk about it, I would, but I'll get in a ton of trouble. But
no, we don't want that.
Wrestling fans will see me again very, very shortly. It's just, not taking time off because I'm beat up, just kind of in between. And it's been really cool. I might set a record this year for most hockey games watched by a human being. It's got to be up there. I've watched 250 to 300 games every year for about a decade. You just talk about like flying to India and landing and watching the game at 5. Like I was in Saudi Arabia when I was with the WWE, and I set my alarm 30 a.m. so I could go and do cardio like a psycho in the gym and watch a playoff game because I wasn't going to miss it. So
amazing. You might have been the only person there watching NHL hockey, in the entire
probably the only person in a 100-mile radius. And that's cool.
Do you have a second favorite team? I'm assuming it's Nashville, but
it's Nashville. It's definitely Nashville. Toronto Maple Leafs that's my team I grew up following. I grew up closer to Detroit, down by Chatham. But I've always been a Maple Leafs fan. Like always, I can remember in 93, I will fist fight Wayne Gretzky if I ever meet him for high sticking Doug Gilmour and not getting a penalty, and the LA Kings going to the Stanley Cup and getting beaten by Montreal. Yeah, it's crap. You can never convince me that wasn't a penalty, and it wasn't a penalty because Wayne Gretzky, still the greatest hockey player of all time, but I will fist fight him even though he's old. But yeah, Nashville's my team. I do a ton of stuff. We are in the community with the team and know a bunch of the players, and I do their charity golf tournament, and they take really good care of me. 2 of my friends from high school I played hockey with are actually going to be in town tomorrow. We're going to go to the Red Wings game, and it's going to be cool to have buddies that I haven't seen in years and years, and the team will take care of us, and we'll have good seats and maybe go down and talk to some of the players, and it's going to blow their minds. It's still blows my mind. Wrestling has opened a ton of doors for me, and it's it's cool. Like I'm sitting, without wrestling, I'm not sitting here talking hockey with you guys. Like I'm just some guy, right? So it's cool.
Yeah. So in that, I actually had another question about the industry. Which opponent, like in any promotion across the world, dream match, who would you want to face the most or be in a program with the most?
My answer has never changed. It will never happen. But Shawn Michaels, for me, I idolized him. I know I grew up in Canada and it's sacrilegious to choose him over Bret.
It's true.
But I did. I love Bret Hart too, but Shawn is the best. I did some writing for ESPN, and I'm sure it's out there on the internet somewhere. There's an article, and it was called "My Love Letter to the Heartbreak Kid," and it's all about my love for him and how he made me want to be a wrestler. And I studied him, like just still do to this day. And then how later in life, how our careers all kind of crisscrossed, and he didn't realize it at the time, but there's a bunch of stuff in the article. It's not, I don't get paid for it, but it's on ESPN somewhere, I'm sure. It's called My Love Letter to the Heartbreak Kid. And I'm going to get emotional and start crying, so I'm going to stop talking about it.
Well, we appreciate that. Honestly, Eric, we want to thank you so much for coming out. We wish it was a better result of a game, but we got a lot to talk about, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, pleasure is mine, man. It's a really cool thing that you guys do, and I've been on Berkshire's thing, and very good buddies with Steve and Adam and Jesse. And last time I was in Toronto, they came and watched me wrestle. And
that's right. They were saying that.
Get thrown through a table and all kinds of fun stuff. So, great guys, and they're doing a really cool thing, man. And as you guys know, opening tons of doors for other people in the industry, which is amazing. And it's really proud of those guys, and this is a cool thing you guys got going here. Anytime.
We appreciate it. Well, before we go, Eric, if you want to plug your stuff, let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, well, wrestling, I'm currently in between, so there's nothing to talk on that front, but I do a really cool hockey show. It will be live tomorrow morning, but you could watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Game Plus Network. It's called Dangle Bet Selly on FTN Network. Me and Chris Meany, it's a definitely gambling based, but it's like I call it a hockey psycho's paradise. It's just, we're just talking about hockey, everything hockey. And then there's a ton of cool suggestions for betting, because as you guys know, if you haven't lived under a rock, that sports gambling is taking over the world. And we all are just in the eye of the storm and trying to measure it as best we can. My specialty is predicting goal scorers, because I'm a sucker for punishment, and it's the hardest thing to do. So that's my area. But I would say this year I'm probably over 500 for betting on goal scorers. So that's not too bad. And like I said, it's I read and consume hockey like nobody I know, and I love it. It's my number one passion in life is hockey outside of wrestling. So it's really cool to be doing that. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. Don't be scared away by the gambling. I don't gamble. I'm a very conservative gambler, but I do say what I think will happen, and most of the time I'm right.
Well, that's great. Well, on that note, we will sign off from Game Over Toronto. My name is Fouad Suleiman.
My name is Armaan Panthicky, and you can find me at Armaan Panthicky on Twitter.
And Eric, take it away.
And I am Eric Young, the Eric Young on Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys.
Boom! Take care, everybody.
Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.